Hello, welcome ladies and gentlemen to the League of Legends Europe West Challenger Series powered by Kaostv. I am Pulse, and technical issues all over the board from many of the streams. This will be MYM versus Eternity. Once again, the first best of three went Eternity. I did not catch it myself, and unfortunately my co-caster will not be joining me today because his internet is down. Fantastic, but we will have the first couple bands coming out, which will be Zed, Jarvan, Twisted Fate, Jace, and Shen. Shen, of course, was picked up the last game. I'm not sure how much damage he did, but of course, it does look like he did some damage, especially with the fresh band coming out as well. So, quite wary of that, especially with the TF band coming out on top of that. So those definitely will be targeted since they were played in that last game. Libic now looking to pick up a champion for MYM. And as I said, guys, hopefully we should no longer encounter any more technical issues, but as soon as I say that, I think these things will probably crop up at some point. So first pick will be Elise. Did not see that in the first game. Very nice to see. Elise very strong at the moment. Fairly common ban as well. Nasa's picked up now by Eternity. He was picked up last game, and he was indeed picked up by Eternity as well. They will swap up, so blue team will be MYM and purple team will be Eternity. And just waiting for the rest of the picks. So maybe seeing that Nasus once again in the jungle. Of course, when you do pick that Nasus early into the picking order, he can be easily countered if he's in that top lane. So by picking him into the jungle, then he's a lot more difficult. As I struggle to get my words out because I am an amazing caster, he's a lot harder to counterpick. So, of course, if he's in the lane, then you can pick a strong laning partner such as Darius and just shut him down. But if he's in the jungle, you can't really do that. And of course, if you pick him in early as well, then you can confuse your enemy team, assume that he's in that top lane, and then you just pick something strong against it. In that last game, we did have bottom lane swapping up into that mid lane for Eternity, which apparently did play dividends. So we will have potentially Varus now picked up by Cesaru. That was picked up last game as well. Now I think it was by Eternity, if my goldfish memory serves me correctly, and Kayle will be picked up as well. So maybe looking for that late game scenario. Kayle probably going to build AP, but could be AD as well. AD of course does have an incredibly janky auto attack animation, but we did see a lot in Season 2. Putting that Kayle in that top lane, strong auto attack harass, and moving on into that late game, you basically have a second AD carry with an invulnerability. Problem with Kayle, of course, is that you can't be awesome all the time with, of course, the E only sometimes on. And we will have maybe Blitzcrank being picked up. We will have Zyra being picked up by MYM, Meet Your Makers, and I assume that will probably be support with Varus in that bot lane. And Zyra is extremely strong right now as a support, does a ton of damage, just naturally massively high base damages, massive utility as well, and brings a great utility to the team in general. Also augments your early game level 1 team fight if you choose to go for it. An AoE route is always super nice to have. And it looks like we'll have Caitlyn picked up as well. Varus does fairly well against Caitlyn, but not as well as the likes of Tristana. And Caitlyn looking for that early game, mid game dominance. And she does lack a decent damage arrow, which is extremely strong. Build anyone AD carry, well, almost anyone AD carry, and they will just deal tons of damage. Orianna potentially being picked up here along with Ahri. And this is shaping up to a fairly interesting team composition, waiting for the last pick really to shape the rest of it. But we will have, I assume, a fairly unconventional jungle depending on what Cubon decides to pick up. And yeah, so we will have Blitzcrank, the Kayle, and the Nasus. So looking for quite a strong early game team fight, and a nice transition as well with the Nasus. Blitzcrank opening up a ton of opportunities. That bot lane looking to be very, very aggressive. Kayle, again, a strong lane bully. Nasus probably going to be in that jungle and looking for Blob to pick up their last member of their team, which I wouldn't be surprised if also if they are strong in that early game. So Maokai potentially being picked up here by Cubon. So that probably will be Zyra support, Varus AD carry, Ahri in that mid, maybe Elise top, and then Maokai in the jungle. Very heavy loaded on the AP damage as well. Varus's damage steroid is mostly AP, and Maokai again does AP, so not too much AD damage. Of course, if Cesaru, actually that will probably swap up. If Varus does well, then he'll be doing a lot of damage, and they have a pretty good team composition for keeping people away from him as well. They have a couple stuns, Charm from Ahri, the Cocoon from the Elise, and AoE shutdowns from Cubon on Maokai. That will be swapped up as well, and Zyra with Grasping Roots, and just general zoning denial. The team fight is also pretty nice. Ari has a really nice front line, along with Elise and Maokai as well, soaking up some of that AoE damage. And potentially we do have a Diana coming out as the last pick from Purple Team, which will be Eternity. And just waiting for that to be locked in. So, again, hoping for a lack of technical difficulties, and we will have a dodge out of this lobby. Cesaro has quit out, and it might be an issue with people swapping up their champions because they didn't use the placeholder, or the other person doesn't have a champion, which is always an issue. But hopefully we'll get an update on that as soon as possible. So this is the Europe West Challengers Series, powered by Kaostv. I am Pulse, and our stream for today is Hexit on stream 2. And unfortunately, my co-caster Splitting will not be joining us today, or for the foreseeable future anyway, because his internet is currently down. But until then, this will be the second game of MYM versus Eternity. That's not a good thing. Oh, I've been blocked. Right, so hopefully my streamer is on top of that. Let's check the stream. Yeah, I think we're good to go, because unfortunately they did post that in chat. Not a good thing to be doing when you have viewers. So we will be jumping once again into this champion select, just banning out a couple champions. Hopefully they don't ban the wrong champions, as we have had so many times before, where you basically go back into the lobby again and then you ban out the enemies' picks, which is not a fun thing to happen. Okay, right, so second game now coming out. I will be solo casting this one. Bit awkward, but, you know, what can you do? These things happen. A sentence that can be applied to many situations indeed. Right, so NASA's now being picked up. Most likely these players will just pick up their champions into their correct places, instead of having to swap them up, because now we're just picking straight through them. They've already gone through the picking and banning phase, and just probably discussing team strategies, etc. So Makat going to be on that Maokai in the jungle, and I highly doubt he's going to be going MLG Maokai, which is essentially cooldown reduction glyphs, armor pen, reds, and then the rest flat AP. You start blue pot, and then you start stacking saplings in the enemy jungle, and you 100-0 someone with the saplings. It is kind of amazing and also quite bad, but I'm sure someone can probably make it work. So right now we do have 44 seconds until we jump on into the delay, and I'm always interested in how players use their runes and masteries, but nothing too interesting, I don't think. Kind of interested perhaps in Varus, so Hexit, if you would like to take a look at Varus's runes and masteries, which will be MYM Makler, and will be lifesteal with physical damage. So lifesteal quintessence is standard 8.5 physical damage, 12 magic resist, and 13 armor. Moving on to the masteries, will be 18, 1, and 11, picking up the defense mastery, Summoner's Resolve, because we will be taking one of those summoners, and going down into 18 into offense, and 11 into utility, so going for the lifesteal as well. So 3 lifesteal, and also the 6 lifesteal from his runes. Kind of interesting, probably, or even perhaps starting with that Doran's Blade will mean he has extra AD in the start, with the 5 HP back on every auto attack is quite a lot in that early game, especially with the lifesteal, and he doesn't have a sustained support either, so that is probably what he's looking to run. And we are 2 minutes and 39 seconds on the delay. We will be jumping into a short commercial break in a minute. And when we get back, we will be jumping into Game 2 of MYM versus Eternity, so don't go anywhere, stay tuned. Yeah, I guess so. Ignite? That's weird. Someone in chat was saying I was wrong for saying that he's probably going to go Doran's played. Hello, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the League of Legends Europe West Challenger Series powered by Kaostv. I am Pulse, I will be casting today, and we will have Eternity versus MYM in the second game of the best of 3. The first game, of course, did have some technical issues, but that did indeed go to Eternity. And now we see the rest of the teams just kind of fanning out, looking maybe to invade. We do have Maokai, he doesn't like to invade too much, he likes to have a fairly sustained start. Support junglers are quite dicey in the early jungle. If they are counter-jungled, it's quite difficult to get back into the game, especially if blue is taken from him. Sharex coming around the corner as well, he will be seen by Libic, and ward goes down as well, not revealing themselves. So they know the ward's right there. And I don't think either team will really go for this invade, but Sharex may go for that pull and land it onto Makler. Ruju sees him as well, but the flash over the wall. They know they're not going to get that kill down, but a flash into that bot lane this early on into the game is extremely nice. Libic putting down that pink ward as well, clearing that from Sharex, and restraining that vision from Eternity. So far flashed already, a ward down as well, so they have the extra vision. They know that's a ward wasted, and they will just be moving into their jungles. So let's take a look at some of the starting item builds. Of course, we are right now in the meta of everyone just take as many pots as you can, pick up a few wards as well, until that will eventually get changed. I believe right now on the beta environment, they are toying with the change of just starting with 5 HP potions, or making sure that the cap is 5 health potions and no over. So we probably will stop that in the near future. And also Elixir of Fortitude, the red pot, will be 350 currently. I mean, that is the change at the moment. And we will have bot lane picking up those wolves early on into the game, which will allow them a little bit of XP advantage, which will allow them to hit level 2 faster than their opponents. And did Makler take golems? Need to get some XP from somewhere. I believe it was golems. Yep. So they will be on fairly equal footing. And that's basically, if you get level 2 faster than your opponent, you can apply a lot of pressure, especially in top lane. It's most evident where you can just engage on your opponent, do a ton of damage. But in bot lane, if the support gets that extra skill, especially with Blitzcrank picking up the grab and straight into that power fist combo, it can be quite difficult to get out of, especially if you're level 1 and don't have an escape. Makler, of course, playing Varus won't have an escape either way. But again, we'll give him, more presence in that lane, which he really, really wants. So in mid lane, we will have SPR Blob on that Kayle, shaping up against Cesaru on Orianna, picking up the red pot right now, and Cesaru should do pretty well against Kayle. Kayle is that classic lane bully, but Cesaru has got a decent range to kind of keep him at bay. And meanwhile, bottom, we will have an engage, and we have Nasus coming in from behind as well. Wither goes down, auto attacks coming out, and Wuju picking up that first blood. However, the plan doing a ton of damage. Barrier forced to be popped by Wuju. He knew the passive was coming, dropping him very, very low. Health pot as well, also keeping him alive. Well, that will be a 0-1 trade so far into this game. Eternity picking up the early game advantage in that bot lane. Excellent lane gank from Nasus, forcing that engage from Blitzcrank. Excellent teamwork. So Cubon just pushing Nox out back at the moment. 7 pots. Dana not going to have a super fun time in this early game. He will be trading with Cubon fairly effectively, and he should be able to out-sustain. Cubon does have that red pot, so he gets into a nasty situation. He will be able to pop that. And it works in the same way as Wild Growth from Lulu, where it's basically a flat amount of extra HP, and that will not be cut by reductions such as Ignite. So Maokai looking for this gank at top. It has been warded. Nor Xiao will be looking basically to waste as much Maokai time as he can without getting engaged on, but also keeping himself and just kind of chills out, waste some of his time. Meanwhile, bottom we do have the lane gank from Argent once again. And right now we do have Makakan being pushed back. They do have that early game advantage, and Caitlyn wants to try and sustain that as much as she can. Of course, as we were talking about in the lobby, that Varus has picked up the Doran's Blade. But meanwhile, top we do have an engage from Nor Zhao. Does have a ton of minions behind him as well. And right now, level 4 Q1 cannot trade in those. Do have Cesaru being slowed by Wither. Purify goes down from Argent, and he will be pushed back. Flash out from Cesaru, giving Kayle some more dominance in that mid lane. Right now, we do have Argent doing a ton of work for his team, as he just turns the corner and seeing a Mocat in his jungle, maybe looking to steal that Wraith away from him, stealing his lunch money. Not a nice time for Mocat on Maokai. Fairly, not too sustained in the jungle early on. If he doesn't have that red buff, the blue buff, sorry, but he does have that blue buff. However, he doesn't like to be bullied around by Nasus. Meanwhile, bottom we do have an engage from Blitzcrank, dropping Makler very low. Libic looking to trade as well. Argent coming around the corner, looking for that Wither to land on Libic. They don't have the vision, but Spirit Fire goes down. Flash comes out as well. Wuju looking to follow up. Argent tanking a couple tower shots from Mocat coming in from behind. Getting the vision with what's happening, going straight into the brush, however. And then he will be flashing out with Wuju. Mocat now being popped up 3 versus 1. Libic and Makler looking to put some assistance down, but meanwhile top we do have Elise trading with Nor Zhao, picking up that kill, and so many people on both sides dropping really low, but that will be a 1-1 so far. 6.9k to 6.9k now, just ticking over to 7k. Perfectly even game, and Argent is just sticking around down the bottom. Makler playing a very dangerous game, basically almost 2 hits from death right now, but he needs to get this farm up, because when you do push it into the tower, it's so tempting as an AD carry to just stick around. Spirit Fire goes down. That might be all they really need to take him out at this stage. One auto attack will probably take down Makler as he just goes ahead and recalls. He just wants to stay in. I know you're paying Makler as an AD carry. You just want to stay in. You just want to get the farm. But Sharex will be recalling with the rest of his team. They pushed it to his tower. He's going to be missing some of them, and now is as good a time as ever to go ahead and recall. Caitlyn, however, on 30 CS. Makler is actually out CSing them right now because he did choose to stay behind, pick up that farm. Currently on 39. Caitlyn probably even up as she returns into lane. But she does have the extra kill as well, so she will be ahead on gold. Noljal just finding himself a Cubon in the bush, trying to get some of that control down with the Cocoon going down into the combo, chunking Noljal down to about 60%. That was a lot of burst. And if Cubon had decided to, could have swapped into Spider form, do some more damage, which he did indeed. And meanwhile, in mid we have SPR Blob, still against Cesaru, and not being too much action. And in fact, Cesaru is ahead in farm right now. Not really seeing if he's gone for those jungle camps, but Orianna can farm those jungle camps fairly effectively. SPR Blob will be looking to put some hurt onto Cesaru, even though he got that early game gank from Nasus. So Cesaru doing a pretty good job of just keeping him back, farming at range, keeping himself in contention in that lane, despite Kayle having that extremely strong laning phase. So, taking a look at some of the skill orders, everything seems fairly standard so far across the board, nothing out of the ordinary. Maokai actually only put 1 point into Sapling, and indeed 2 points into Arcane Smash. Sometimes you see Maokai put 2 points into the Sapling for the jungle clear, and then the rest of the points into Arcane Smash, maxing that second, and then probably maxing Twisted Advance second after that, because that will mean that he can 1 clear jungle and 2, because the Sapling toss is just essentially 1 award and 2 extra damage. He doesn't really need it. He's really looking for that utility and the cooldowns from that utility and those utility skills. So, meanwhile, we do have SPR Blob looking to pick up this blue buff from Arjan. He does have the red buff, making sure not to do that too low of a health so he doesn't steal it, as so often is the issue with junglers. So, meanwhile, on that top lane, we do have Nojiao picking up the Doran's ring, plus a ton of pots. What's his goal looking at right now? 330, so he's not in a great position. It's 8 minutes into the game, only 24 CS. Doran's ring, alter his name, plus the health potion and the mana potion, which he did pick up at the start, probably the remnant of that starting gold, but he's not in a great position with Elise practically doubling his farm on 58 so far. We'll be doubling it in just a second. He has Root Crystal and a Boots of Speed over him. Not in a great position, and he's stomping down that advantage. So, really in terms of scaling, they have an extremely strong sort of poke and then engage team with the Blitzcrank, looking for the mid and maybe late game as well. He turns his scales really nicely, but Cubon has been found by Nojiao and Arjan as they move into the bush with Spirit Fire. They're going to start trading, but not, turning this one around with Cubon. Repel goes down, however, SPL Blob moving in with the intervention, picking up that kill with the Q, and that will be a free man gank onto Cubon, picking up that kill fairly quickly. But meanwhile, bottom, we do have MYM capitalizing on this with Libic trading as well, and Sholix just trying to be annoying, pulling out Maklo, but he will be picking up this Drake. And that was Cesaru picking up a kill against Diana, moving that to a 1-to-1 trade at top, and the Drake as well. MYM came out very commandingly in that trade, and the Drake as well. Shark's looking maybe for that pawn to Libic, but Wuju wants to just be farming right now. We do have that strong laning phase, but Varus is quite strong in that trade scenario, looking to just aggress onto him. The Piltover misses, barrier goes down as well. He will be popping the ultimate, the chains will keep them locked up. Sharks are forced to flash out, Wuju also trading with him. Makler forced to back off, minion wave now coming in as well. Wuju putting down some more hurt with the Piltover, and the Ace hole goes down. Makler popping that, standing in the way of it, dropping very, very low. One more auto attack away from death if Wuju decides to do it. He does have that headshot charge. Mocap moving into lane now, keeping himself into contention and just mopping up some of that farm as well. So right now there's 2-2 and 1.5k advantage in terms of gold for MYM at this current moment in time. We have 1-0 Orianna doing quite nicely, 96 CS. That is absolutely, absolutely ridiculous. And usually you expect to be maybe 80 farm at 10 minutes, and about 20 CS behind the minute is the way I like to think about it, but 96 is an exceptional amount of farm. I assume she's been going for those Wraiths, and we haven't had a chance to take a look at that because there's been so much action all over the board so far into this game. Maokai just kind of wandering around that mid-area as well, looking to get these ganks off. Maokai, of course, that support jungler, does like to be ganking quite a lot in that early game, getting those ganks down, getting the early game advantage. But Arjan has done a great job of just kind of counter-ganking and doing the ganks of his own. Orianna just zoning back Blob, looking to aggress onto him now, pop the Righteous Fury. And that will be the ultimate. Shockwave goes down as well. Intervention has been popped. Cesaru looking to chase after. Flash goes down. Command Protect command attack rather, will miss. And Argent just moving now into mid, will walk past that ward, and probably just looking to soak up some of that farm, as junglers don't too often get too much farm, and it's always welcome when they can get it. So now, meanwhile, that bottom lane, Libic just putting down those seeds, and usually as Zyra, you do like to put those seeds down for that area denial as well. When Zyra has 2 seeds up, you have to play more defensively because their trading power increases dramatically. Very, very difficult to trade with a Zyra who's popped down those plants. They do an absurd amount of damage in the early game. The base damages alone are absolutely crazy, and that's what makes Zyra such a strong support. It does a ton of damage, massive utility. Laning phase extremely strong, but however, that is traded with a lack of escape. So now, meanwhile on top, we have Cubon still shaping up against Norjiao, still double his CS. Proportionally, that's still quite a lot. He's currently 0 and 2. Norjiao really can't trade with him. Diana sort of classified as that guy who can just start trading against you. Not too much you can do with the Pale Cascade. Will keep you alive and safe through most of his trading. Will be trading off against him. Ignite didn't go down, however, from Cubon. And Argent will be counter-ganking, just making sure that he keeps Norjiao alive, and he will just again be covering that lane. Argent really can't get these ganks off because every time he wants to gank, his lane just gets pushed down and he really can't get any of these off. Meanwhile, bottom, they may be looking for this dive. Zyra moving around the sides while Shark's around there as well. Mocat looking to move in from behind. Makalu tanking that turret at the moment. Now moved on to Mocat. So Zyra coming in from the side as well. Dire ultimate coming up. Everyone knocked up. And Sharik, sorry, and Wuju will be picked up. 2 for 0 trade. Double kill for Orianna. SPR Blob now moving back into that bot lane. Sapling goes over the wall, and he may be able to invade this blue buff, but he will Atrista advance straight onto SPR Blob with Cesaro to the side as well. Intervention comes down. Makler coming in from behind. Hail of Arrows will pick that up. Norjiao coming in as well, looking to provide some assistance, but Cesaro now chasing after, looking to land that dissonance to slow him down. Now chasing after with the auto attacks. Cesaro has popped his most of his mana, however, will be picking that up with command attack. Dragon is not up at the moment, but that was successful with 3 to 0 in that trade, and a blue buff as well, denying that from their mid lane and moving that onto Cesaro in a really commanding position right now for MYM. Argent just up at top, still laning against Elise, as Diana was forced to go into that bot lane, not having a fun time at top, and really looking to end that laning phase as fast as possible. They didn't have a ton of pushing power, especially Diana can't push against Elise at the moment. So Cesaro just chasing after Diana, popping Command Protect, belly out of mana, does have that blue buff though, forced to flash out. Command Protect goes down, just making sure that Diana doesn't follow. And SPR Blob just moving back into that mid lane. So let's take another look at some of the builds. Do have Kale picking up that Nash's Tooth, and the Phoenix Codex probably going for that Nash's Tooth fairly shortly, looking for a more hybrid build. Also got the Sork Boots as well, augmenting that early game damage and the high base damages that she already had. Now Cubon just moving into that top lane, and has maxed the Neurotoxin first and the Volatile Spiraling second. Kind of interesting, but meanwhile bottom, we do have the Shockwave going down, straight to Wuju, auto attack, and the Q piercing arrow from Makler picking up that kill. 6 and 2 right now. MYM still leading their advantage, but as I was just saying about Cubon's skill order, is generally a lot of releases like to max that W second because of the base damages, which is super strong. And then using, or maxing Neurotoxin second because it is percent damage. But Cubon in that brush, looking to engage onto Norjiao. Will be using Lunar Rush to just pop out of the way of that combo. Drinking into the brush, Cocoon goes down as well. Volatile Spiraling, providing some of that vision. Now chasing after, Moonfall goes down, slowing him briefly. Cubon looking to close the gap. Repel comes down, looking to chase after, and the Q will finish that off with Venomous Bite. Moving that to a 7 and 2, 1-for-1 trade. Oh, sorry, 1 against 1, picking up that 1 for 0 trade against Norjiao. 7 to 2 right now. MYM just pushing this advantage home. It's going to be quite difficult for Eternity to catch this one up. Maybe moving this into a 1-1. Moving on to the third game with this best of 3. But we do have Eternity with quite strong late game composition. If they get ahead even slightly, Diana can start split pushing. Nasus becomes a complete raid boss. And Intervention and Kale just does a huge amount of damage and massive utility in that late game as well. So the knockdown and out, not a huge amount of gold behind either, only about 4k. That's about one big item. It's not the end of the world. Cesaro now chasing after SPR Blob, and that is one very angry looking Shyvana. Orianna, completely the same champion, I swear. 302 with that easily large rod, almost got there, but meanwhile bottom we do have Sharks pulling in Libic with a mad rocket grab. I don't even know what I'm trying to say today, but we will have a kill picked up at bottom, claiming that for eternity. Meanwhile at top we do have Norjal just moving on top against Cubon once again, but he is without the tower, he doesn't have that safe sanctuary, and he will be forced to back off into that second inner turret. Meanwhile bottom we do have Argent maybe looking for that gank onto Makler. It has been warded, however. He's just going to try and just stay in range for the EXP and farm, but not get ganked himself. But meanwhile mid we do have the shutdown intervention, stopping Kael from dying and also picking up a kill in return onto Cesaru. Again, they are not down and out, but that will be Cesaru picking up that Rabadon's death cap at 17 minutes into the game, along with the Tear of the Goddess and the Sork Boot and Home Guard enchantment. An extremely fed Orianna this early on into this game. We do have Macklin just going ahead and recalling. He is currently on 124 farm to 122, so fairly even in that bot lane, but he is 2-0-2, leading with that gold advantage, plus the tower top as well, putting him at about 700 gold advantage. He is building towards that Infinity Edge currently along with Caitlyn, but he is slightly ahead in that race with the Cloak of Agility picked up, and an extra Doran's Blade on top of that as well. So we have Elise picking up a fairly standard build of Haunting Guise, just like to get that early magic penetration, plus the Sork Boots as well, but Cubon trying to just chase after Norjal. Good jukes with Lunar Rush. Repel goes down as well, flash over the wall, will be disengaging from that fight. Do have Norjal quite aware that he can't trade with him, but meanwhile mid, Arjan chasing after Mokat. Will be backing off. Cesaru now returning into that mid lane against SPR Blob. Drake is up, they will be starting that Drake dance, centering around that area. However, Maokai is forced to back off. He is their source of their smite, however. They might be able to move on to this fairly shortly. They must know that Maokai is back, but they don't really want to engage on. They're quite aware that MYM is a fair ways in front of them. They know that Elisa's top, however. And Norjal will be moving around that area as well. But meanwhile, mid, we do have Kael being picked up. And rather, Kael picking up that kill against Cesaru, chunking him down. SPL Bomb also dropping very, very low. But that will maybe be the catalyst for them to pick up this Drake, as they do have their mid player down. And he is a massive source of their damage in this mid-game scenario. Wuju just popping down those auto attacks. We have bot lane maybe looking to contest this. Charex has been revealed by that ward as well, kind of being pushed back in all areas. He now doesn't get the steal off. The pull goes down, will whiff. However, Mokat coming in from the side as well has been slowed. And the Wither as well into Reckoning. And Ace in the hole just goes down to maybe secure that kill. But that will be indeed picked up by Nasus, picking up the Drake and that kill as well, and kill onto Orianna. Meanwhile, top, however, we have an initiation down to Norjal underneath that turret. Repel goes down into the Venomous Bite, picking up that kill. He will be going ahead and recalling, just making sure he doesn't get ganked by SPL Blob, who is on his way currently. Minion wave going in, and he will just be soaking up these minions. But Cubon actually turning this one around onto those minions, quite aware that SPL Blob's there, but he doesn't really want to trade with him. Reckoning goes down, looking to trade after. Chase after with Righteous Fury. Flash goes down, but Cesaru also teleporting in. Bit of a miscommunication, but Intervention goes down before that combo lands, so he doesn't actually follow up with the rest of it. Intervention on a fairly low cooldown, just a minute at the moment, 2 points into that. Intervention does have an absurdly low cooldown. Now chasing after once again with Reckoning into those auto attacks from Righteous Fury. But SPR Blob will be pushing him back once again. Ruju now being pushed out by Makler, who has the mana advantage over Caitlyn, and also the item advantage. Libic taking a lot of damage as well, but they will be able to push on this tower top, and now bottom tower falling for MYM. Only one tower in return, being the mid tower from Eternity. So right now, next Drake fight will be maybe slightly harder because they didn't have that safe sanctuary of that bottom turret. But for now, they are in good shape. And we do have Nasus picking up the Runic Bulwark, so protecting against some of that magic damage, as we mentioned in the Champion Select. We do have MYM very heavy onto the magic damage front. Of course, all of that coming from Mokat, Libic, even from support, doing a lot of damage. Cubon and Cesaru double AP, and only real damage coming from Makler in terms of AD. He is doing fairly well at the moment, picking up the Infinity Edge and the Zeal. So they're really picking their items around the enemy team composition, which is always nice to see. Kael going for a pretty standard Nasus Tooth, maybe looking for the Death Cap next as well. Do some extra damage on those auto attacks with Righteous Fury and Reckoning, of course, as well. And a bit of extra healing is not a bad thing. So we do have Cubon placing down that ward. Argent knows, I think he knows he's there, but we'll be smiting that down. He will be good to go. And Norjal just looking to pick up some of this farm. He's on 90 farm right now, but again, Ali's almost doubling it, 171. In a very commanding position, picking up the Rylai's Crystal Scepter as well. Fantastic. So they are currently 4k ahead in gold. And we do have Eternity just kind of centering around mid. And they are starting to group up right now. They're quite aware that they need to go for some sort of team fight before they start falling behind one by one. But they are taking a good position. They're not in a terrible position. But we do have MYM in the driver's seat, as it were. They are able to control the pace of this game. Special Cubon pushing relentlessly at top, forcing SPR Blob to move up top with Kale. So that will be 2-on-1, meaning that a potential engagement can happen in mid, but they don't want to potentially go for that dive. Dives at this stage are still fairly risky. Mukat is looking to be quite tanky. Shockwave goes down onto Arjan, only just tickling him. Wuju just out of that radius as well. And the pole goes down to Zazaru. All of it coming out as well. All of it coming in from the Zyra, knocking them back, creating some zone denial. And we'll have Arjan just pushed back by Chains of Corruption from Varus. And that will be the end of that engagement. Zazaru just saved by his allies there. In a very nasty situation. Great grabs coming out from Sharix. We will be moving around the side, just looking to cut that vision and have those grabs come in from the Fog of War. Makler has been slowed by Arjan, maybe looking to capitalize on this. Reckoning comes down, flash out of the rocket grab. Ruju putting down some hurts well with those hiltovers. Cubon now returning to the rest of his team after just kind of staying into the island that is top lane for most of the game. He is extremely farmed, 184 farm right now, 3-1 with a Rise Crystal Scepter, Haunting Guys and Sork Boots. He is in an extremely strong position. They have some extremely strong duelists on by the hands of MYM. Eternity going to find it quite difficult in those duel scenarios. However, in the team fight, they should be in good shape. They do have Nasus and Kale. They have an extremely strong team fight composition. As long as they can keep that front line together, Caitlyn can do a ton of damage with that Infinity Edge. They do have a good peeling team as well with Moonfall and Reckoning, and of course Intervention and the just general disruption from Blitzcrank. Ghost has been popped right now. Wither goes down to Zaru, one of the main damage threats. Libic trying to keep them away from him. Grasping Wrist goes down into the Shockwave, keeping them away, but that will be the killing spree. Returns the SPR Blob. And that was a 1-for-0 trade. No objectives up right now, and they might choose to sweep the jungle, pick up that red buff. We do have Varus down at bottom. He might need to recall unless he just pushes relentlessly down at bottom, looking to alleviate some of that pressure, but they are looking to take a strong pushing advantage, that being from Eternity as Diana returns into the fray. Just returning from base, minion line has been broken, and Varus looking to turn this around into mid as well, picking up the red as he rotates there. But the rest of his team will be recalling. Eternity know they really can't siege it right now. They do have Kale, they do have Caitlyn, they do have a decent amount of poke, but where a lot of their strength lies is engagement, picking, as we just saw, onto Cesaru. We'll have MYM now moving in mid. Strong trap line coming out from Eternity. And MYM just looking to make sure that they push these waves out, make sure they're not pushed in, and they're not sieged from Eternity, making sure they keep up this constant pressure, make sure they command this advantage. Sapling goes over the wall for the vision as well, looking to rotate maybe towards the Drake area. Probably should keep track of that, but they are moving around it. I think they're quite aware that this will be spawning fairly soon. Pink ward's going down as well as just normal wards. We have Eternity Argent coming around the corner. He knows that their Spirit Fire goes down, bit of area denial. Sharix goes down, takes a huge amount of damage, completely exploded. Chains of Corruption keeping him in place, and the rest of the burst coming out from the team. Drake has now spawned, with MYM now moving on to that 4 versus 5 scenario. Cesaro just coming in from the side as well. Morgial just poking them out, but again, there's nothing they really can do with a 4v5 scenario. Just got to back off. Large minion wave pushing in top as well. Just being pushed in all over the board. Right now from Eternity, they just need to make a good decision, and right now Libic potentially caught up by Wuju as he chases after Mokat, now circling around as well. Needs to make sure he isn't Twisted Advance. Vision is still there. Twisted Advance will land using those wards. Twisted Advance repel goes down. Kungyong picking that up with Venomous Bite. And that is now a second pick. Now still a 4 versus 5. And now more important member, Wuju on that AD carry. Meaning they can now force this mid turret. You need to try and make some sort of engage happen without the AD carry. It's very, very difficult with Twisted Advance coming down. All of it coming down from Maokai as well. Eventual Maelstrom ultimate coming in from Oriana. Shockwave goes out. They will be back here, forcing them away from that turret. Turret doing a huge amount of damage, not quite out just yet. Libic will fall. Cubon also trying to back off. Reckoning currently off cooldown. Shark looking for this grab to happen. Cubon just popping into spider form, making sure to block them with those spider link, but Cesaro will be popped, completely exploded by Blob. And they will now be turning this into a counter push from Eternity, pushing down this mid turret 2-4-0 in that trade. Now Caitlyn coming back into this team fight, maybe even going for this Baron, and the pause has gone down. Potentially with someone with issues, Eternity. I'm not quite sure what's going on. I assume it's something from MYM. And KOT, not entirely sure what that means, but I'm going to take this opportunity to take a drink. Fantastic. So, right now we are in a currently good position for Eternity. About 5k behind in terms of gold, and they are 2 towers behind as well. Those will be the outer towers. However, they're in good shape to come back into this game. They have people decently built, not out of contention in terms of CS, and they have a current 2-kill advantage with players on the board right now. Libic right down for another 12 seconds. 33 seconds on Cesaro, and he might choose to go for some sort of objective. Maybe even go for that blue buff, which has indeed popped. Caitlyn's a decent ways away. Not entirely sure if they choose to go for that Baron. However, Mocat is quite low. And he will be returning to base, meaning they won't have the smite. They probably can't steal. Elise is around the area, but she's out of mana. If Eternity were to go for this Baron, they could potentially do it. I doubt they probably know that Elise is completely out of mana, and they know the position of everyone. They know they'll probably be backing up because of that team fight. They may not know exactly where everyone is, maybe specifically Varus, who is on 100% HP at the moment, and maybe slightly lower mana. They know a couple cooldowns have been popped, may be able to go for the Baron, if maybe just for a team fight, because they know they can force something to happen. They're all in fairly good shape themselves, on quite high HP, with Caitlyn also coming back in as well. So again, let's take a look at some of the item builds. So again, fairly standard. Now looking at Diana, not looking for the Nash's Tooth this early, which makes a huge amount of sense. They already have the Nash's Tooth from SPR Blob, and the second thing is they're not exactly ahead in this game, meaning she can't really split push. Of course, it does bring a lot of damage into those team fights, but it lacks a huge amount of survivability. And I will now be jumping to live. Camera, okay. Now jumping to live because he did have that pause, and he will indeed be moving on to that Baron. Not going for that blue buff. Caitlyn moving over that wall as well. Caitlyn can actually hit the Baron from over the wall, which is kind of interesting, but she did choose to just join the rest of her team. Varus, I think, now aware of this fact. They didn't have it warded, but I think they've clicked. Varus just taking that blue buff, and maybe they haven't clicked. They've just taken Baron without any sort of opposition. That will be Sharik pulling that blue buff over the wall, picking that one up as well. Cherry on the cake, and that Baron will definitely move them back into contention, and the ward goes over the wall as well from Libic. The horrifying truth has now been made aware to MYM, and that will bring the gold advantage actually significantly less, now only 4k ahead for MYM. Also, the Baron buff is about 18k in stats last time I checked. I'm not quite sure if there's been any amendments to that, but they are now in a good position maybe to go for this team fight. They're definitely strong enough. And yeah, so we had the Seeker's Arm Guard from Diana, which I was talking about just before that Baron happened. There we go. Which will probably be built into a Zhonya's, and by probably I mean will, because it doesn't build into anything else. And it's more likely that's going to happen, because she needs that tankiness in team fight. She's probably going to be focused out 0 and 4, fairly squishy, still a good source of damage, but also very easy to push out in those team fights. So as a result, Seeker's Arm Guard into the Zhonya's Hourglass makes a huge amount of sense, will allow her to keep herself alive and also maintain that front line. So Wuju just farming up right now, and they are in good position. They might choose to go for this team fight, or maybe even wait just for MYM to push right in, maybe not even confident of their own team fight, which is fully possible because they are, as we all know, still quite far behind. Not far behind in kills and farm as well, but yeah, they are in a good position. Diana now taking the opportunity to split push, and just kind of like standing still for a second. Still standing still. So I assume the second force going down will probably be something to do with Diana Noljiao. Yeah, connection issues. There we go. So once again, we jump into the pause timer. Another 27 minutes remaining on that. That shouldn't be too much of an issue. Once again, guys, I am Pulse, and yep, Norjal disconnecting. And this will be the League of Legends Europe West Challenger Series powered by Kaostv. This is Meet Your Makers versus Eternity. This is the first best of 3 of the day. This is the second game, first game picked up by Eternity, and we have a reconnect coming from Norjal, which is absolutely fantastic. And any second now, we have Diana just saying ready, and asking the enemy team MYM if they are also ready. And Elise just coming out with go. So we should be jumping back into the game fairly shortly. Play resuming just a couple seconds. So let's take a little look at the item build. So we have Varus picking up the Infinity Edge straight into the Phantom Dancer. Fairly old school, pretty classic. Does a ton of damage, and of course AD carry items do stack multiplicatively. We will need to jump to live once again because we have that pause. There we go, fantastic. Right now we have an interesting graphics bug with Rudy on my end. Not sure if that's global. And we have a pull coming in from the Sharks. Will land onto the Libic. Ultimate coming down and just exploded by SPR Blob. The amount of burst damage coming in from Reckoning straight into that auto attack. And once again we have a pause. Fantastic. With now now Argent has indeed disconnected. So we have connection issues on many of the players in this game. So that's just dandy. Mini-map bug. Camera bug. Yes, that's extremely frustrating. That did actually happen with Spectator at some point where you had the camera locking to direct the camera no matter what you did, and it was highly irritating. So just taking a look at Kael's burst in particular, Reckoning does 260 damage base, plus 400 damage. That's 660 before resistances. That's quite a lot. Lichbane as well. Can't actually see how much that is because it's just saying plus 0 right now, but there will be a percentage plus the 50 on that auto attack, plus the 137. As you can tell, it's quite a lot. It's quite a lot of damage. And plus those auto attacks will be hurting a fair deal, so we will be jumping back into this game once again, hoping in vain for these connection issues to die off. We will have Sharks just moving around the side. Tons of damage coming out from Cesaro. Maybe looking for this pull to happen. We'll just be moving around the side. And the ball will just be keeping them away. Max range on Orianna, but this tower will be poked down. There's nothing you can really do about it. 4 versus 5 scenario. Got to be careful not to be picked up by Sharks. Just throwing a couple blind grabs out as well. Why not? Rest of the team can nuke them down very, very quickly, as has been shown. Angry present on the way for Norjiao. We'll be backing off. You still have that Baron buff. How long left? About a quarter left. And I think maybe that's all they really want to do with it. We do have Wuju going back, looking for maybe another item. As he dart pushing down mid, but Libic now back into the fray. 5 versus 4. And indeed 5 versus 5 when Wuju gets back into the action. So ping goes down onto Dragon from Eternity. They are now looking maybe to start that Dragon Dance, maybe initiate on it. And they are in a very good position. They're only about 2.5k behind. Proportionally, that is a lot less. I couldn't tell you exactly because I didn't calculate it. But Wuju now moving into that bot lane, just picking up some more farm. 211 right now. Picked up the Infinity Edge and the Blade of the Ruined King. Again, we do have Varus building towards that himself, but already a Phantom Dancer on top of that. So he is indeed ahead of Caitlyn again in farm and kills. But Caitlyn definitely not out of it. So, again, fairly standard builds across the board. To have Blitzcrank just picking up the Philosopher's Stone and the Ruby Sight Stone fairly early on, meaning he can get those wards out. And tons of vision wards as well, keeping some of that objective control alive. And now Cesaro just kind of poking them back. And Eternity in a very good position to go for these team fights now, especially as they are moving into this late game. As we spoke about near towards the start of the game, that Argent becomes a complete monster when, well, Nasus reaches late game because of that Q that will be farmed up by that point, and Nasus' Kiss is just incredibly strong. His ultimate, of course, is quite crazy in those team fight scenarios. And Diana scales really well. Caitlyn, AD carry, it's just going to happen, and Kael again, quite fed and also scales exceptionally well. So they are in very good shape to bring this one home, potentially bring this to a 2-0, 31 minutes into the game, and practically no difference between his teams. Drake will be picked up, nothing he can really do to stop this from happening, and that will be evening it up even further. We do have Diana up at top. They don't really want this engage to happen, but they may look for this pick onto Mocap. Maybe not the perfect person to pick up. Had he gone for that initiate, or had he managed to lock the rest of them down, then that would have been a nasty 5 versus 4 scenario. Right now, they just want to keep them in a position where they're keeping them back, forcing them to stay around while Diana pushes that top wave in. Diana not a great duelist at the moment. Now with 2k in her back pocket, however, maybe looking to pick up that Zhonya's and maybe even build towards a Nash's Tooth, looking for that split pushing power. But he is definitely getting to a nice farmed stage. And as soon as they can get to that point in the game where they can get split pusher, that means that their duelist can basically take on anyone, and you basically put MYM in a very difficult position where they can't send one person over, they have to send two, and then they get initiated on by Eternity. So Kayle now pushing down that bot turret as well. No one really able to stop that from happening. Outer turret's less valuable and less easy to hold as we get later on into this game. Bot tower has just gone down. And yeah, so Nasus right now looking quite scary. He's incredibly tanky, but just middle tower going down as well for MYM. Buffs going out as well. Nice steal from Blitzcrank over at their blue buff, as MYM's blue buff will be now sweeping the jungle, but MYM just realizing that's not going to happen. Drake has already gone, and the bot lane is pushing in, so they probably need to send someone down to deal with that. Ward has gone down as well. It will be cleared up by Libic. And right now, bit of a passive stage in the game as each team farms up. Each team not in a massive rush to go for these initiates. I mean, you both scale quite well into that late game, and they are really looking for an engagement to happen on their terms. More one scenario where you have those lanes pushing out, or maybe you even get a pick as well, and you have that team fight happening in the enemy jungle or an enclosed scenario, especially for that AoE team. That is MYM. So again, not too much happening. So whose item build have we not paid much love to? And in fact, Caitlyn, interesting, now picking up the Giant's belt, looking for some more sustain in those team fight, picking up the pickaxe, not in desperate need of that armor penetration right now, looking for the Last Whisper fairly shortly, and Sharix actually using some of those walls to bait out people, looking for those grabs over the wall. So Caitlyn maybe looking to build that Warmugs, maybe even just leaving it at a Giant's belt while she picks up the Last Whisper. But we do have the Baron dance starting once again. Baron has spawns, they are around that area. And Blitzcrank popping that ultimate, just making sure that it doesn't anger the Baron, which would be very, very frustrating. A lot like Sunfire Cape, just making sure that doesn't happen. And Libic just around the corner, making sure he doesn't get engaged upon. Diana had gone for that and known the enemy team wasn't around the corner, but the ball goes down and actually lands on Libic, goes straight through Mocat. Shockwave lands as well, will be bursting him down immediately. 5 versus 4 right now. Makler being pushed out, Wither comes down, making basically a mobile shutdown coming out for Blitzcrank, and that's a 2-for-0 trade. Norjao in a bad position, Cubon getting out of there with the repel, popping over that wall, but this is a strong 5-man push from Eternity. We do have Norjao recalling, making sure that a counter push doesn't happen from Mocat, just have those minions abducting that minion line, but Argent is extremely tanky in his own right. He will be backing off, it looks like, and maybe looking to pick up this Baron, as the rest of the team, 2 people are down, Makler down, Libic down, large source of their sustained damage. We do have Maokai kind of in that area, but we did have Cubon forced to go back. Cesaru moving up to top lane, using that teleport to great effect. And now it's basically up to these 3 remaining members to maybe make this steal happen. Mocat coming over the wall, looking for this smite steal to happen. Not going to happen. Excellent spike from Arjun, picking up this kill onto Mocat. Now currently 1-0, and an excellent pull from Sharix. Going straight onto Cubon, picking up the second kill, 2-for-0. Makler now coming back into the fray, but this is a 5-man push, all with Baron buff, huge sustain and regeneration. Going to be extremely difficult, especially if Libic gets picked here, with potentially a Reckoning coming down just out of range. But Jean, I think, perfectly happy to tank this, with Caitlyn just waiting on this with Blob as well. Blob going to be doing a lot of damage to that tower with that Lichbane proc. We'll be pushing down into this inhibitor. You might even rotate bottom, pick up that turret. We've got to be so careful with that Blitzcrank pressure. And the ultimate coming down into an engage. 3 versus 5. Maybe looking to pick up this kill onto Arjun. Chain of Corruption goes down, picks up that kill. Narjel looking to pick up this kill onto Cesaru. Misses the Crescent Strike. Expecting him to juke out of the way, but that will be another tower picked up at top. It was a strong push down mid, but maybe not. I was going to say not entirely worth it, but they just picked up the inhibitor, so extremely worth it in the hands of Eternity. Did have MYM stopping them from pushing any further and stopping maybe that bottom turret from falling. But that was making the best of a bad situation. Now with Eternity pulling ahead, and it doesn't look to get any better really for MYM. As long as they can go for this team fight, they might be in good shape. Argent, again, Nasus, late game, extremely scary. Even in the jungle, Nasus reaches that critical mass where he's Nasus, and he just walks through your team and you can't do anything about it. Does a huge amount of damage naturally, but they are sieging down this turret. Extremely strong push. Will be 5 versus 3 right now. Norjiao and Argent are still currently down. They really can't go for this trade. And if someone gets picked up, that's a really bad position to be in. And an inhibitor traded for MYM. Sharks just trying to get back into contention. Maybe looking for one of those pulls, but not going to happen. Now bringing that to a 5-5 once again, but inhibitor down for both teams. Also in that mid lane, so that will be equaling that one out. So they will be now picking up their blue buff. Drake has now spawned, maybe looking to counter push and pick that one up. Not much that MYM can do in the circumstance. And yeah, Wuju will be picking up along with SPR Blob. So again, item builds. So looking at Orianna, 347 farm, extremely impressive this late on into the game. And almost full item build as well. Still got to build something out of the Tear of the Goddess and the Haunting Guys, but already with the Void Staff, the Rabadon's Death Cap, Enchanted Sorcerer's Boots, and Morellonomicon. Now pushing bottom with a massive minion wave. They can ride this, maybe even onto the next turret. They have pretty good wave clear, however, from MYM. This Crank moving around the corner. The best chance is really to get that grab onto Varus, forcing the flash over the wall. If they go for this team fight now, Eternity going to be in really good shape. Going to be very, very difficult for Makler to keep himself alive. Going to need a lot of help from this team to keep himself into that team fight. Now just rotating that turret aggro onto different members of Eternity, still with that Baron buff. Just chunking it down bit by bit as the minion waves come in. Ping has gone down onto that ward. They know that ward's there. And they will be backing off quite well, that they may not be able to carry on this siege. They know mid's pushing in, however, with those super minions. Warping is coming in from MYM. Just making sure they don't get pushed completely out. And now Eternity moving in to sweep the rest of their jungle. Maybe even looking to push that top lane. Large minion stack coming in from there as well. SPR Blob moving in there along with Orianna. Forcing him back. He can't really overextend at this stage. One death from MYM will result in a team fight won by Eternity and potentially the game at 40 minutes. Recalls coming down all over the board from Eternity. They have a ton of gold in their back pockets, however that will be 1,000 on Diana, another 1,000 on Caitlyn, 1.4k on Kayle, and 1.7 on Orianna, so they will want to go back fairly shortly and shape up for the next team fight. And red buff has also spawned for Wuju. They're just going ahead farming their jungles, making last preparations before they go for this fight. And Kayle almost again at full item build. Just picked up the Giant Spell. Might be a Warmugs just to get a little bit more tanky. And Warmugs already picked up by Nasus. That is an extremely tanky Nasus. 1-1 and 10. Bulwark, Warmugs, and the lock of the Iron Solari. Let's take a look at his general stats. 179 armor, 160 magic resist, plus his ultimate form as well. And on the top of 4.3k HP. That's a very, very difficult Nasus to take down. So right now MYM just sticking close together, making sure not to get picked. Looking to all be together as they enter this fight. Maybe even looking for a pick themselves. Wards going in from both teams. But of course, Eternity now pushing in, meaning they do have the advantage over the warding coverage in MYM's jungle. They're now pushing in that mid lane, pushing down those super minions as well. Inhibitor will probably be respawning fairly shortly, along with their own. Ward has ping has gone down, sorry, into the enemy jungle. They know they're around that area. Cubon just got to be careful not to get picked by Sharix, who is over that wall. And once again, it's just this this tension which is built up. Each team doesn't really want to engage on the enemy team's terms, so just waiting for that to happen. And really, Eternity just taking the opportunity to push in these side lanes and make something happen. However, Cesaro is definitely hurting. This team fight can go either way, and it's really just starting it on their terms. So let's take a look at some more of the item builds. Varus picking up the Infinity Edge, fairly standard build, has picked up the Quicksilver Sash as well, looking to get away from that Wither, which is causing huge amounts of problems from Nasus, and straight onto that AD carry. If he lands that Wither onto the AD carry late game, it cripples his attack speed drastically, making it very, very difficult to get any sort of maneuverability. So hopefully he can get that Quicksilver Sash cleanse off of that Wither more than anything else, not something else like a Caitlyn Trap or anything else. In fact, there's not really much else to be cleansed other than the Wither. But that is the main source of Varus's issues at the moment, and that's caused his death several times now, by which I mean once, because he's only died once. Good job, Self. So right now we do have more warding coming out from MYM, looking maybe to regain some coverage, but it's four-man just grouped up at the moment with Orianna around to the side. It will be seen by Eternity, may even want to capitalize on that. Inhibitor has respawned, won't be able to push that one in either. And right now it's just the game of vision. Each team just trying to get those wards down, looking for this pull to happen, looking for this initiate to happen. And it really is about vision to make that occur. So Cherek's just on the front lines with Argent, wanting this to happen. Both teams just shaping up in this mid lane. There's so much tension as both teams at any second could go for this team fight, and the flash into the top. Ultimate comes down as well from Zyra, and Argent coming in from the side on that front line, but 4 versus 5 now forced to retreat. Sharks has been blown up, may even be able to turn on this if they put those squishies too far onto the front, but Baron has now spawned as well. It's now up to Eternity, and Shazari putting down the Shockwave, pushing down Nor Jiao. And that will be Baron started by MYM, forcing the matter. Do have Argent still up with that smite, doesn't have the flash, has indeed picked up the ghost instead, looking for the smite steal to happen, but he will be forcing this team fight, and SPR Blood on the front line doing tons of damage to Makler, forcing him out of the fight. Mocap falls back as well as the rest of the team gets shredded, and Zhonya's comes out, but now Zhao in a bad position. Flash comes down, Cubon coming out of the repel form. Wuju on the back lines as well, still on full HP. He's in a very nice position to flash forward. Piltover goes down. Ace in that hole comes out, picking that kill. Wuju looking to pick up the kill onto Mocap, but we do have more damage coming in from Makler picking up this kill. Triple kill coming in for Wuju, but Makler will pick up that shutdown. 4 for free trade, very low, and now Libic not in a great position, but that will force the rest of the team, that being from Argent and Garex, looking to move down bottom, stopping that minion wave from pushing out. And all in all, that was probably a good team fight from MYM. They did come out ahead in those kills, and they also forced the fight sort of on their terms. I mean, they did start off with Blitzcrank looking for the pull, and then they did burst them down, 4v5 scenario, but then the initiate happening on Baron, a D-plus from Baron, meant that Eternity could come back into contention during that team fight, and did ultimately come out fairly even, but it was really up to one of these teams to get a decisive victory to push this one home. If they can get a 5-man ace with maybe the AD carry and one of the tanks up, they can probably push to win. But if it's like a fight like that where they have 2 people alive, it's not going to happen. So once again, it's just a waiting game as both of these teams just kind of group up, look for this fight to happen. Baron is still up. Need to make sure the other team doesn't get this Baron from underneath their noses. Libic just clearing this one now, putting those seeds down as well. He will probably be moving around that area. Kael down the bottom needs to make sure he isn't out of position when this team fight starts. And Caitlyn pretty much full item build, just got the, in fact, got the last slot to go. Has got that Doran's Blade, and Makler on Varus is full item build. And Wuju was in a really good position in that last team fight. He was basically at the back, not being harassed by anybody. He was in good shape just to basically hammer on the rest of MYM's team. Probably not going to make the same decision this time round. Makler was forced back very, very early on to that fight by Blob and Argent, making it very, very difficult for him to really get into that team fight and deal damage. I feel Varus is in a better position in this team fight, and it's definitely going to turn around. 46 minutes into the game, we are now in the late game period. AD carries are where it's at, and the extra, basically that's your main source of sustained damage. They need to try and keep that protected. Extremely strong front line from Eternity, as we saw in that last team fight, and basically able to commit anyone they like into the front lines. Intervention goes down, making it very, very difficult to focus them out. Split push coming in from Diana down bottom. Diana does have teleport, Diana is at that stage in the game where she's pretty strong. She's still 0-6, not in the greatest of positions, but she is quite farmed. And as you get to late game, everyone is basically the same anyway. We'll be pushing that one out. And Cesaro recalling. Again, Cesaro does have that teleport along with Diana. 4 versus 4 in the mid. But they choose to go for this team fight. They can reach that team fight situation very, very quickly. And they will be pushing down Orianna against Diana. And Orianna can shape up really well against Nor Jiao, probably beating him in that trade as well, outfarming him, outbuilt in items as well. He will be in good shape, and they both have teleport. So we'll have Ace and Hole just going down from Wuju, chunking down Libic, just keeping them back, and Piltover. I mean, Ace and Hole will be on a 60-second cooldown, not too long. Both these teams just still, once again, just starting that Baron dance. And we've been in the Baron dance for quite a while. This is a stage in the game, really not too much happens. And the item builds are nearing completion as well. Really, for the next team fight, we do need to see Eternity maintain that front line, allow Caitlyn to get some of that damage out. Caitlyn is actually quite tanky in her own right, 3.4k HP herself. And the ultimate will come down onto Wuju. Maybe even following that up, but not going to happen. We'll be chunking him down to 800 HP, however, and that will be MYM starting that one up. Wuju not really got anything to vamp off. Will be recalling, but he really can't in this scenario. Nasus wants to try and get the steal, but again, he really can't do anything. And Sharik's actually pulling Maokai over the wall as Arjanta's on the front line with SPR block. Now not in a good position. 4 versus 1 will be picked up immediately. Chance of Corruption comes down as well. Norjao looking to chunk back that back line, but Cubon unable to do anything about it. Will be pushing down the rest of the enemy team, and Varus will not actually fall. That was a 5-0 trade. MYM taking a very convincing team fight off the back of that Baron, and that will be GG. Well played coming in from both teams. There's literally nothing that Eternity can do about this one. Surrender vote comes in. And it was just extremely well played. Cubon just doing work for his team, chunking down the rest of that back line from Eternity. And again, Mukat just popping over that wall, keeping his own backline alive, that being from Makler and Cesaro. So that will be the second game in the series going to MYM. And that will mean we will go on to the best of 3, which should be extremely exciting between Eternity and MYM. Hopefully I can get a drink after this and chill out, because solo casting, turns out, takes it out of you. So yeah, we'll be back just in a little bit for game 3 of this quarterfinal. See you soon.